What if hell had never existed? Would you still love your God? God's love, they say it is the purest of all. But there is something curious. Depending on where you are born, that love changes its name. If you are Christian, it is the love of Jesus. If you are Hindu, it is the love of Shiva. If you are Buddhist, it is the love of Buddha. If you are Muslim, it is the love of Allah. Almost every human being has their own particular God. But here is the question. What if there were no promise of paradise? What if there were no reward at all? And I will go further. What if miracles simply stopped? If no prayer were answered? If no unexplained healing ever happened? If the heavens remained in absolute silence, would you still have faith? Or does your faith depend on results? From an early age, we are conditioned. Do good to receive good. God is watching. You reap what you sow. But is that love? Or is it self-interest disguised as virtue? I obey, I help, I follow the rules, and in return, I expect protection, blessing, a miracle. What kind of love demands a reward? It was 2 in the morning. I was watching a famous religious program. A woman stepped onto the stage and testified, "Through love and faith in God, my business prospered. I bought my house, my car." Shortly after, the pastor explained the importance of tithing. Tithing is a sacrifice. Not giving it is robbing God. And I thought, why does sacrifice so often come down to money? What kind of love is conditioned by offerings? Friedrich Nietzsche observed something uncomfortable. When you promise a future paradise, you teach man to deny the present. And this repression of life turns the human being into a domesticated animal. Arthur Schopenhauer noted that human beings tend to believe what they desire. Faith can become a safe harbor against randomness, a kind of refuge. And Krishnamurti said that true religiosity only arises when we abandon all hope of reward and all fear of punishment. No prize, no threat, only lucidity. One day I was driving to work with a colleague. At a red light, a man in a wheelchair was begging. My colleague gave him 10 reais. The man smiled, a sincere smile that seemed to light up the street. But then came the sentence, "We help, and God gives it back to us double in the future." That was when something shifted. The gesture was beautiful, but the intention revealed another layer. Was it charity or spiritual investment? I help, so I will be helped later. But is that love or interest disguised as virtue? Imagine a world where there is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no final judgment, no reward, no punishment. Would you still be just? Would you still help the man at the red light? Would you still do what is right, even if nothing came back to you? There's something extraordinary about goodness without an audience, about ethics that no one sees, about doing good without earning spiritual credit. But we live in the age of display. Someone donates food and immediately turns on the camera. Someone helps a homeless person and turns the act into content. Love becomes a story, a reel, monetization. And sometimes I ask myself, if there were no likes, if there were no shares, if no one ever knew, would the act still happen? Perhaps modern heaven is no longer eternal paradise. Perhaps it is the algorithm. Perhaps final judgment has been replaced by the number of likes. And so the question returns, are we helping out of compassion, love, or validation? In the Gospel of Matthew it is written, "When you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing." And you, do you extend your hand out of compassion, or because deep down you expect the universe to record the gesture? If tomorrow there is no heaven, if there is no algorithm, if there is no invisible reward, will your goodness survive, or does it only bloom when it is convenient? Perhaps the problem is not believing in gods. Perhaps the problem is turning them into a reward system. Because when love depends on self-interest, it ceases to be love. If God rewarded nothing, would you still love him? The silence that screams is not against faith, it is against self-deception. If this idea pierced you, unsettled you, you already know where to find more questions that do not ask for applause. Because here, we do not deliver comfort, we deliver awareness. This was the channel, The Silence That Screams.